Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Platitude Era podcast. In this episode of the podcast, we will be reviewing Toy Story 4. This is our Toy Story 4 movie review. So we're just going to go down the list and grade each category because that's how we do it on our show. First up, Synopsis. It's a movie about toys that come to life when nobody's watching. Marketing. How badly did the movie want to make you go out and see it? I give the marketing an A plus because it's a Disney film. They invested heavily in all forms of marketing, commercials, TV, internet, billboards, product tie-in. We even have some delicious goldfish with Toy Story on it. What would you say about the marketing? Anything you want to add?
For me, the marketing, I said that for me, as a cynic and a cold-hearted stone stone figure, the marketing, come see, come saw, doesn't matter to me. Do whatever you will, but as long as the movie's got a high enough score, then I'm gonna go see it.
Now we're moving on to the story. The story, I give it an A plus. The story was great. It took a lot of dramatic elements and action elements as well, and just made this really fun movie to watch. The whole premise of the movie, if you've seen the previous Toy Story films, and I don't know who hasn't, the first movie's kind of like Indiana Jones or James Bond, where it starts with this action scene to draw you in. And Toy Story, they took an action scene that should have been like in the opening and just built a whole movie around it to add dramatic elements into it. Anything you want to say about the story?
I like it. It takes interesting turn. Like it's an interesting take on on what you expect from Toy Story because, okay, at the end of three, Andy gives Woody, Buzz, and the gang to a new kid, and then you expect, oh, Woody and Buzz are going to be the favorites of this new character. So like, oh, Toy Story 4 is just going to be like a rehash of Toy Story 1, right? But it doesn't do that at all. So it's interesting that for this movie, it starts off with Woody not being the favorite toy like he was with Andy. So it's this story is just, oh, how does Woody come to terms with the fact that not only is he not the favorite toy anymore, but what is he? What is his purpose now that he has an owner, he has a person that to, I guess, play with, but that person doesn't want to play with him.
Yeah, it's just you talking about that just is making me teary eye again. One thing I did notice about Toy Story 4, it seems like the writers in the movie or the animators might have worked on The Simpsons or were inspired by The Simpsons because there were a lot of little Simpsons sight gags, daydreams, and they were still able to tell a really heartwarming story aside from the humor and other things.
Yeah, I guess whatever the best Simpsons writers were, whatever the best animation writers are, whatever they when they used to work for The Simpsons or any good cartoon, I guess they left for Pixar because yeah, there was a lot of sight gags, a lot of callbacks, a lot of it was like this has definitely been, if not the funniest, one of the funniest Pixar movies, which I kind of like and I don't like in a way, or not don't like, but it kind of stood out to me because yes, this was the funniest movie, but like in the franchise or any Pixar movies, they've had humor in them, but they've never gone like full blown comedy with it. I mean, I haven't seen every single Pixar movie. I haven't seen like Cars 2. I don't know if it goes for like dumb baby humor or something. But like, yeah, I'd say that this movie has by far the most laughs of any Pixar movie, and I did enjoy myself. I'm not complaining, but it did kind of raise a smallish flag. Maybe I put my pencil up in class to give give us awareness to the teacher, like, hey, this movie's funnier than anything you've ever done before. What gives?
Anything else you want to say about the story? I felt like I said everything I could about the story. If there's anything else you want to add before we move on.
I mean, it's a fairly simple story. I mean, it kind of rehashes old storylines. Oh, hey, Woody meets a quote unquote toy in the form of Forky, who like instead of Buzz going full blown, hey, I'm I am a space ranger. I'm not a toy. Forky goes the other way, where I'm not a toy. I had a different purpose. It's a slight tilt on the first movie, and then and so like it goes in different directions. It does surprise you. Toys get lost or whatever. So it's like I've seen that. I've seen that done before. But it has a kind of a sympathetic villain, because all these Toy Story movies have to have a villain, an evil toy or something. But like you go in a different direction with the villain. You go in a different direction with the story again. The general beats are the same, but it has different spins on every different thing. So it feels fresh enough that I wasn't bored or rolling my eyes or checking my watch or anything like that. It feels fresh. It feels great. I'd argue maybe besides the first one, this might be one of my favorite Toy Story movies.
I agree too. If it's not your, talking to the general audience, if it's not your favorite Toy Story movie, it's up there in the list. And then
Mm-hmm.
moving on into the acting, you got the regular key players, Tim Allen, Tom Hanks, but now you have some new actors. And how did they fare? First off, Keanu Reeves.
Not to be a sourpuss, but like I know, like I've seen reviews or something like, "Oh man, Duke Kaboom steals the show." For me, it just sounded like he has kind of a funny story, but for me, it just kind of sounded like Keanu Reeves, like like gruff, grizzled old Keanu Reeves. Like Keanu doesn't have great range as a voice actor. It kind of just sounded like Keanu Reeves,
Keanu Reeves doesn't
which
have a great range as an actor, period, but he does touch your heart, and you want to root for him in every project.
yeah, it's just I for me I couldn't get it out that it's just Keanu Reeves. I can see him in the VO booth. It's just Keanu Reeves. I don't know. He's not the character.
He's not the character. He plays Duke Kaboom, and he was fun to watch in the movie. And he wasn't being Keanu. He did have some funny parts, and he did have some dramatic parts. Well done, Keanu.
Yeah, he was a good character overall. I couldn't separate the man from the character. Like I don't see Tom Hanks when I'm watching Woody. You know.
Yeah. And then we got, which was really smart casting, as well as a good addition to the Toy Story. Buster from Arrested Development plays Forky.
Yeah, I kind of jokingly thought like, oh man, Forky's gonna be the best. Forky's hilarious. Look at this Forky. Forky's the best character. Buzz who? It's all about Forky, man. But I mean, Forky was a pretty great character. I was not disappointed by Forky at all. I think Tony Hale, I guess he's got a knack for voice acting. I mean, it sounds like him. He didn't sound too different from himself. But I mean, he did a great job delivering. He had a lot of like humor in the character of Forky. I mean, just I'm trash. So like the whole, I mean, it's almost like a simplistic just gag. Going back to Simpsons. It's just like a dumb sight gag over and over again. Where like there's montages of in this movie, like a lot of montages of Forky wanting to jump into a trash can because he thinks he's trash, and then like Woody just going back out and trying to save him, and that's like the first third of the movie is Forky trying to throw himself away, and it kept, I don't know, it delighted me and it entertained me, and I genuinely enjoyed Forky quite a lot.
It was really smart because they created this character, Forky, and they got the right person to play it, which was Buster from Arrested Development. Pretty much the same character. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, kind of naive, kind of juvenile, or some other word for like kind of new to this world, not sure of himself, whatever. You understand what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a similar character. I don't know what he's like in Veep. I guess I need to watch Veep.
Now with this, I'm going to watch Veep too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Forky steals the show?
Yeah, I'd say so. Where I'd been seeing things about Duke Boom stealing the show and only seeing Keanu Reeves. I watch Forky. I'm like, I mean, Forky lived up to my fake non-existent hype. I was blown away by Forky.
Now, how did you feel before watching Toy Story? We did not know what was going to happen with Forky. We ended up buying a Forky plush because we thought maybe he's going to be a really popular character. And sometimes we've been wrong. We'll buy movie memorabilia about a certain character, and we end up watching the movie, and it's like, that character was awful. But in this one, we invested in a Forky, and Forky paid dividends.
Yeah, Forky did not disappoint. I'm gonna buy Toy Story mugs with Forky's face on them. I'm gonna buy T-shirts with Forky. I'm gonna buy whatever shoe crossover with Toy Story that looks like Forky. I'm gonna buy some sporks for my house. I don't know, popsicle sticks too, and putty. I'm gonna make Forkies, Spanives, and Knifoonies.
And we took a lot of pictures of our Forky plush that we bought, and we uploaded it to Instagram. So if you want to see some of our Forky plush figures, just go to our Instagram at Platitude Era Show. Now we're getting into one of the heavy hitters on the show, Key and Peele. What did you think of Key and Peele?
Well, I think it's interesting that you introduced them as Key and Peele and not as their characters. I think well, maybe you said Keanu. I don't know. Either way, but just yeah, it felt like I was just watching Key and Peele riffing. Like I don't know if they necessarily had any lines or if it was just, hey guys, improvise, and they had some hysterical laughing moments. Like I know back to the callbacks. I mean, like there was a lot of like cutaways to like a callback. Like oh, they had a plan. What was it? Oh, to jump a human. Okay, well that plan doesn't work. Let's go try a different plan. What if we jump a human but in a different way? And it kept doing that, and like no spoilers, but like they go back into that well, and well, a couple times we're like, rules of three. The third one is the payoff, and they do a rules of three twice, and they have two payoffs, one towards the end and one in the middle.
Yeah,
And I think it probably got some of the biggest laughs in the whole movie. So I mean, props to them. They got some great chemistry and they got some great comedic timing.
I noticed with Key and Peele the way that they were used in this movie and their talents, that it seemed like everybody, including ourselves, once the movie was over, it was difficult for us just to get up and leave the movie theater. We just wanted to sit there and we wanted more.
Yeah. There was post credits. I don't really. Was the post credits tied to them? Maybe I don't remember.
Uh,
I think
post
so.
credits or right after the movie?
Or the mid credits, whatever.
Yeah, it was tied to them.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
you wanted to keep watching.
yes. I don't think anybody left. This was like the first time ever where nobody left the movie theater. They stayed until the very, very end.
Yeah, it was like a lot of setup, a lot of payoff, and the mid definitely stay for the mid credits because it was hilarious and worth it.
And then moving on to the directing, all I can say is animators make the best directors.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of I guess live action directors, they don't really treat the art of cinema right. They're just point the camera at human that's talking. Okay, point the camera at other human that's talking. Back and forth, back and forth. With animation, you get a little more creativity, and I guess it's easier to just like get your camera to move the camera, like to get the camera moving around however you see fit. So you have interesting cinematography and interesting shots. So you can do whatever you want with the camera and animation. Never a dull moment in this movie when you're watching it.
Oh, and then the locations, the way that the locations were set up and shot, I mean, just gorgeous. Took your breath away.
Yeah, I always like watch every upcoming Pixar movie, and it almost feels like it's like the next gen, like when you watch trailers for like next generation video games or whatever, like oh the PS2 graphics look amazing, and then you watch the like Xbox 360 graphics look amazing. Oh the PlayStation 4 graphics look amazing. It's like with every single Pixar movie, it's like oh my god, it looks better than the last one. How did Toy Story 1 ever captivate me? It looks like dog shit. Like I don't like there like in the beginning there was a shot of like so they had like some cement, like so this is how impressive the animation was. They had a shot of like cement covered in rain, and like the reflections were so amazingly realistic and lifelike that these cartoon characters are standing in a semi-realistic looking world. I mean it was pretty spectacular looking, and I'm just staring at some freaking a sidewalk.
Just look at that. Just look at the animators and everybody that worked on the movie. They put so much attention to every little detail, and I guess this is what kind of separates a high quality movie like Pixar, Toy Story versus that trailer that we saw, the one about the dogs where it was an animated film and it looked very plain.
Well, I mean, here's like a semi bigger movie that like so you watch the trailers for the Addams Family. Like I first saw the concept art, I'm like, oh, that's some great looking art. That looks like it's going to be interesting and stylized, and Addams Family looks pretty exciting. And then you watch the trailer, and outside of the character designs, like everything looks kind of like plain and flat, and looks like animation from like 10 years ago. Just like there's no depth to anything. So a semi big release coming out in the fall in Addams Family, which you think is would have a lot of money put into it, would have some decent animation, but not so much. So you have your garbage VOD, whatever we saw the trailer for, poor Jeremy Renner. But like watching Addams Family and just looking at it, and I'm like, well, why try? Why are you even making this? Put a little more effort in, guys. I mean, Hotel Transylvania, I guess, looks better than this. It's weird,
Yeah.
but all right.
What's your recommendation for the movie?
I mean, there's Pixar movies are for the most part required watches, but for me, I'm gonna say this is like the most fun I've had watching a Pixar movie in quite a while. I've enjoyed like a lot of Pixar movies. Like yeah, that was good. I think the last one I really liked was Coco, but even then I was like, yeah, it feels kind of like and any other movie I've seen before. Not nothing too spectacularly different, but I liked it a lot. Whereas with this one, I don't know. I felt more. Maybe I have a warm place in my heart for the Toy Story characters, but for me, this was probably the best Pixar movie since I don't know Toy Story 3 or Wall-E or just like one of the heavy hitters. This is probably pretty dang high ranking in my Pixar movie favorites.
My recommendation is don't miss it. This movie had very good dramatic elements that worked. I mean, imagine getting emotional over toys, a cartoon movie, and it had humor that worked very well.
Yeah, it
Um,
had it had a nice blend of like rollicking like laugh out loud humor and kind of the teary eyed kind of weeping into your popcorn bucket moments. So I don't know. The guys at Pixar work some magic.
and you and I saw Avengers, and after we saw Avengers, I felt that's it. That's the end of cinema. No other movie can come out that's going to be as good or that's going to blow my mind like Avengers Endgame. And Toy Story 4 did it. It's on the same level as Avengers Endgame.
Bold claim, but I don't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, Avengers had 10 years to build up, and I guess you could say this did too. I think it was about 10 years between this one and the last one. So I guess you're not too far off the mark. I'll let you have it this one time.
Alrighty. Yeah, because, I mean, I saw Avengers Endgame, blew my mind. Then I felt no other movie is going to be as good as this. And that was true. Every week a movie would come out, and it's like, it's not as good. Avengers Endgame ruined cinema. Following week, another movie. Yep. Following week. And then this movie comes out, and I'm like, okay, cinema still exists. It's still alive. As long as people put effort into making a movie,
Mm-hmm.
uh, cinema will still have a place in our hearts.
Yeah, who'da thunk an animated movie about a sentient fork? I mean spork, excuse me. Could bring so many emotions.
And then we're going to move on to the spoilers. But before we get to the spoilers, I know some of you don't want to be spoiled and you're going to do your thing. Other people have either seen the movie or don't mind being spoiled or are going to still continue to hang on. So, do you have a community question for the audience?
No, I don't care about the
All
community.
right, I got a community question. If you've seen the movie, let us know what you think about it. Do you agree with our thoughts? If you haven't seen the movie, let us know why you don't want to see the movie, or are you planning on watching it later? Once your work check comes in, or once you have enough funds in your movie pass. Let us know. Download the Anchor app and send us a voicemail, or in the comment sections of this YouTube video. Now we're in the spoiler section. This is spoilers. Anything you want to say about spoilers?
I just want to know if we're gonna see Knifey in Toy Story 5.
Yeah, John Lasseter, let us know. Are we going to see more of
I
Knifey?
don't think John Lasseter works at Pixar anymore.
Oh. might come back like James Gunn.
Not worth this one.
Things I want to say about the spoilers is I felt that there was an element in the story. Most people say it's a continuation of part 3. But my thoughts about the movie were this is more about finding your purpose in life, no matter what stage you are in life. Woody was always a big part of Andy's life, and then Andy outgrew him, and then he found another purpose with Bonnie. And now in this one, the story's pretty much, hey, I've been there for so many people, I've been played with, I've been admired because I'm an antique toy. But now it's time for me to move on to the next thing. What happens afterwards? Anything to add on how I took the movie?
No, I mean, that's about it. Like I said in probably a broken recording or in this one, I don't remember. It's been a while. But like, yeah, this is kind of the other side to the Toy Story 3 coin of Andy moving on in 3. So in 4, it's the story of Woody moving on. What happens when Woody decides it's time for him to become a lost toy.
And the next thing I have here in the spoilers is, was the villain really a villain or not a villain? Because, I mean, sure, you had the villain, but you understood the villain's motives and the way it behaved? Or was she always a villain because did she play the long con? There's this one scene where she tells Forky, hey, tell me everything you know about Woody. And that's kind of like something from the book The Art of War, where it's like, know your enemy.
Yeah, I guess it was just kind of to like sweeten the, well, not sweeten the pot, but like, kind of sugarcoat what Gabby, the character, is trying to do with Woody. Just like, hey, I want your voice box. She wasn't malicious per se. I mean, she's kind of evil, but at the end, when you found out all she wanted to do was be played with, which I guess is kind of the point of every villain in Toy Story movies, except some of them are irredeemable, I guess. I guess lots of hugging stuff was irredeemable.
That's true.
But this person, I mean, just, came out of the factory with a defective voice box and like, well, it doesn't seem very fair that I've been sitting on a shelf for like 60 years and didn't get played with, kind of like the Prospector. But, I just want to be played with. I don't want to live forever like the Prospector. I don't want to damn every toy that is, damn every other toy because I got the shaft. Or like, I just want a chance to have what you had, Woody. You were someone's toy for years, and I want that chance. And then it does something interesting where like, oh, here's what's her nose. I see her every day. Maybe I can be her toy. And then she completes her mission. She convinces Woody to get his voice box, and then she tries to get played with, doesn't. And then it's like, oh, you feel sorry for her. Like, yeah, she kind of did some bad stuff, but she was semi good intentioned, and then to have it just all fall apart for her, I don't know. It's pretty sad. That's how you make a sympathetic villain. You make their plight seem you semi agree with, or you can see their point of view or where they're coming from, so you can somewhat be on their side or argue for them when they come up with their master plan.
And that's how you make a good villain. Anyone that works in Hollywood that's listening to this podcast, that's how you make a good villain. A villain is not, I'm a villain, tie you to a railroad track. But it's more of, hey, this is my point of view, and I'm doing things for the right reasons, and it's just perspective. Your perspective is, you think I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, I'm bad. My perspective is, I think I'm doing things for the right reason.
Or even, like, I mean, she was technically being selfish, but I mean, like I said, you did understand her plight, and you kind of would like her to succeed just so she can have her moment in the sun. And then she eventually gets it.
Yeah, but she got the short end of the stick because right out of the factory, she had a broken voice box, and nobody ever wanted to play with her, so she was ignored, and she lived in like the outskirts of a child's imagination.
I don't know, but I was watching that. I'm like, I don't know. Do you ever try tinkering with the voice box? Like, you're in an antique store, you might find like something else that might, you can replace the voice box with. I don't know. It seemed pretty lame to get rid of Woody's voice box.
Yeah. It's kind of like the ending of Avengers, the way that
How
they
so?
did to Woody.
They did to Woody as they did to
Iron Man.
how he didn't get his voice box taken out.
I just saw some parallels there. The way that we said as an audience goodbye to Woody as how we had to say goodbye to Iron
Well,
Man.
I mean, spoiler for the biggest movie of the summer, but Woody didn't die. He just, parted ways with his friends.
But I felt
He lost his voice box, but he could still talk.
I felt in a way by taking out his voice box, he died a little bit.
Oh, it's okay. You can be wrong sometimes, or a lot of times, I guess. Whatever.
Now
To each their own.
another thing in the spoilers is Hollywood has this problem where they're trying to make the girl power, the empowering woman, and they don't know how to do it right. In this movie, you have Bo Peep, who's been missing in several movies, and they did the whole girl power, empowering women with Bo Peep, but they did it the right way. This is how you do it. You don't rub it in somebody's face like, hey, girl power, a la Captain Marvel or the third act of Avengers Endgame, where it's like, hey, we women got this.
Or even last year's Incredibles 2. There's one line that's missing from Toy Story 4 that all of those other movies have, which is, hey, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I can't do this. Or maybe it's time for a woman to do that. Like, Bo Peep never did that. She just was. And I think that's the sticking point with most people is like people who are, labeled as I don't know, misogynistic or whatever, or just like, oh, you just hate women. No, not necessarily. I just don't need it rubbed into my face that like, oh, girls can do it too. I never thought once in my life that girls can't do it. I just don't like it being rubbed into my face like, you see, we can. Like, I never thought you couldn't. So with Bo Peep just doing what she could, like, oh, she's been a lost toy for 10 years. Makes sense that she learned the ropes and she made her way in the carnival scene or whatever, and hung out with other lost toys, did her thing, didn't need an owner anymore, didn't need to hide or be a lamp or whatever anymore. She just she learned the ropes, she learned some street skills, and then kept keeping on. I didn't need to see that from like any of those other movies. Just, I don't know, it felt like Incredibles 2, you're retreading the same stuff. In Captain Marvel, you're just really sticking on this point, and it's kind of detracting from the movie. I never once thought like, man, Iron Man's cool. You know why? Because he's a man, and people kept telling him no. I don't think that with any movies. I don't like Gamora doesn't feel like that in Guardians of the Galaxy, because they don't say, because I'm a woman, I can. Well, you see me. Like, there's plenty of characters where like, Ridley, millions of female characters. I'm over exaggerating with the millions number, but like, just show, don't tell. I don't need you to tell me that girl power, hey, we can do it. Just show me and I'll believe you.
Yeah, and it's been something that the right writer, the right director has been able to pull off. James Cameron did it with Aliens Part 2.
Freaking Halle Berry in this summer's John Wick 3. I never thought, Halle Berry, nice try. I just like, okay, she just is. She can do. The end, great. Good enough character.
Yeah.
Not complaining.
So after watching Toy Story 4, watching Bo Peep, a girl character, and just being awesome and not, rubbing it in our face, girl power, it's like, no, if somebody says, for example, the girls from the Ghostbuster movies, and they say, oh, you're being sexist, you don't like girls. No. You're saying that we're being sexist because you're lazy, because you don't know how to write a good story about empowering women or girl power.
Like I said, you don't even need the line like, we couldn't do you with, maybe it's time for a woman to take charge. You don't need that line. You just have the character be a character and moving on. I don't need you to explain to me why this character is great. Just show me. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And then we got this.
I wasn't complaining when I was watching the freaking Hunger Games movies.
That's true.
Jesus.
And everybody loved the Hunger Games, and it skyrocketed Katniss Everdeen's career.
Yeah. So just Hollywood. I mean, this might be a tough pill to swallow, but just make a good movie. I don't need you. I don't need your political agenda. I don't need to wait for like 2020 to see what's going to be railed against. Just make a movie. Just everybody, let's get along. Let's just I ain't gonna be mad at diversity. Just make a good story. I'm not gonna point my nose down at you as long as you just make something worth watching. That's it.
And then we got if you're a fan of Buzz Lightyear, I'm sorry to say there is very little Buzz Lightyear in this movie.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like, I think Tim Allen has been labeled kind of right wingy, so I'm curious if they kind of dialed him back because of that. I don't
Well,
know.
well, one of the
Just a thought.
things I saw the movie is because they introduced so many characters, somebody had to take on a smaller role.
Yes and no, but like, because I'm watching this, I'm thinking, but like, hey, Buzz and Woody are best friends, but you kept them apart, and it doesn't feel like they're best friends anymore, or not that they're not best friends, but like there wasn't a ton of interaction, and when they did interact, it was almost like they were acquaintances. Like I haven't been in adventures with them for like 15 years. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. They dialed back Woody. I mean, for like 5 less minutes of Key and Peele's characters, you could add a little bit more of a you know character stuff between Woody and Buzz or something. It's not that Buzz had completely nothing to do, but he felt kind of isolated from everything else.
Yeah, and one of the things that just listening to you right now and that slipped my mind in the movie was it seems like Woody and Buzz were best friends. This movie was Woody's solo story, so it's kind of like they were grooming Buzz to be the leader of the toy room. What Woody used to be in the first Toy Story, he was the leader. Now it's going to be Buzz's turn if they ever make a fifth Toy Story movie.
Well, I guess Jane is the new sheriff.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, and back on the women's thing. I never thought Jane was annoying or as like a female rah rah character. She was fine.
That's true. She took a little bit of a smaller role to make room for Bo Peep because this was pretty much Bo Peep's movie.
Yeah, I can feel that. There's a lot of Bo Peep, but I guess the Bo Peep was shafted for Toy Story 3, and I don't think was like barely in Toy Story 2. So bringing back a character that I don't know if it was ever necessarily anyone's favorite, but had been there since the beginning, and so it was nice to see them folded back in.
Yes, it was a great payoff. And maybe if they make when they made this movie, they probably had a meeting and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, Tim, we're gonna have to have very little Buzz in this movie because we're trying to tell a deeper story and include more characters, but we promise to give you a bigger role to make up for it in the fifth movie."
Assuming they make a fifth, which I don't know. They may, I guess. I don't know. In the same way, like, hey, who's to say when we're seeing another Avengers movie? Maybe it'll be another 10 years before we see another Toy Story movie. You
Yeah,
never know.
I can actually see them making what about two or three more Toy Story movies where each one focuses on a different character. You have one movie that focuses on Buzz Lightyear and his group, another one that focuses on what Bo Peep and her group,
Mm-hmm.
and then hey, it's not a Pixar movie if you don't talk about some of the Easter eggs. So I think we should talk about a few of the Easter eggs.
All right, shoot.
All right. So my favorite was that we got to see Combat Carl, hear him talk, and actually see him be a part of the movie.
Not you saw three combat Carls,
Oh,
or two and a half maybe.
that was the same guy. I thought they were different characters.
No, they were all combat Carls.
Oh, I really like that. Yeah, you got to see three Combat Carls, one for each Toy Story movie that he was supposed to be in. Part two,
You got
no combat.
combat Carl. You got Desert Storm combat Carl. You got Arctic Tundra combat Carl.
And then this other Easter egg, Tom Hanks is a big fan of typewriters, so you got to see Woody interact with a typewriter.
Yeah, I mean that's a little more. That's a deeper nugget of an Easter egg. It wasn't like oh look at the typewriter. Woody's not going look typewriters. It's just there's a typewriter. Hanks like typewriters.
And then these two Easter eggs, you're the one that discovered and told me, so they're on you. The first one was the Toy Story Easter egg. Go.
Which was I don't remember.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Kenner toy.
Yeah. So there's like a scene where there's a bunch of toys hanging out or whatever, and there was an Obi-Wan like from back like back when A New Hope, back when it was just called Star Wars, and it was like the super old school. His legs are attached because he's wearing a robe, and he doesn't have a whole ton of articulation. And then I didn't catch it, but I heard the Wilhelm scream, so I'm curious if he was like fighting a Darth Vader toy. I don't know.
I was looking at IMDb trivia, and he was fighting. I think it was the guy that he cut his arm off,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know
Abraloblon
what
or
the
something
character's
like
name.
that. I think that's what it said on the trivia.
Yeah, who was it? The like weird tarantula faced one or the ugly dude? I don't remember. Whichever
Mm.
one got its arm cut off. There you go.
And then
Neat reference.
the next one is that you mentioned the celebrity cameos.
There what? I don't.
Mel
Oh,
Brooks.
yeah. So like I noticed like one of the voices was Mel Brooks. Like so they're in a closet and it's like, oh, I can hear Mel Brooks. I wonder if any of these other closeted characters have any significance. And then I went on IMDb. I don't remember if I saw it on the end credits, but Mel Brooks plays a character called Melephant Brooks. Uh, I guess this counts. Alan Oppenheimer is a character called Old Timer. Carol Burnett plays a character called Cheryl Burnett. Betty White plays a character called Bitey White. I guess she was a shark. Carl Reiner plays a character called Carl Rhinoceros. So I mean, those are like some like old school comedians from I don't know what like the '60s or whatever. So seeing them all together, I guess they all I don't know. I'm a millennial or some shit, so I don't know what they were all in together something. I don't know. Carol Burnett show, whatever. So it's funny to see them all there, and they all have puns on their names as toys.
And then this is the biggest Easter egg. I mean, we should have mentioned it earlier. It's stay for the credits, stay during the credits, stay after the credits, and this is the biggest Easter egg. Do you want to mention it, or should I?
I don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're referencing. I don't.
Okay, so Keanu Reeves is famous for using
Oh,
a word or a catchphrase in every one of his movies. And in this movie, they found the smartest way for him to use his quote catchphrase. Anything else you want to add?
well, I mean, you're talking about it. It seems weird that you keep trying to like throw it to me when you're the one talking about it.
Because
Like you expect me to cut in. You're the one talking about it. I don't expect you to interrupt me. I'd yell at you if you interrupted me.
because
I'm
I
not done
feel
talking because it's pretty annoying when I get interrupted. So for the most part, I try not to let someone cut in.
because I just feel
So
like
I feel like you like it makes sense that if I'm gonna throw it to you, then I'd let you know that I'm throwing it to you.
it's
You
just
definitely know if I'm trying to let you in on the conversation.
it's just that I feel that our viewers are smart enough to know what I'm talking about, and it's just a
Well,
spoiler.
you're in the spoiler section, so
Most of
I
the
mean,
people have seen it, so it just blew my mind just to hear Keanu Reeves say his magic catchphrase. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And it blew my mind, and I freaked out. And
and you
was
were
I
the
the
only one to freak out. Yes.
oh? Now I'm embarrassed.
Well, I'm pretty sure people got a few chuckles out of it, but I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't gut-bustingly hilarious. It was like, oh, there you go, he did it. There you go. He
And
said the
then
thing. Say
yeah,
the line, Bart. Say it.
and then this has to go in an additional category. I don't know what. I just have it labeled as cheeseme. I don't know if you can think of a better name for it, but it's Rashida Jones was a writer for the Toy Story 4 movie,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a lot of interviews when she got the job and she was working on the script where she wanted to make it about Woody and Bo Peep. So I think maybe this idea for this movie was all Rashida Jones.
I mean, she has a writing credit or story credit or something credit. I mean, she's credited at the end of the movie, so whatever work she did kind of stuck around, kind of like in the same way for the first Ant-Man. Edgar Wright was still credited.
And I just think that the whole idea about Woody and Buzz's no, I'm sorry, Woody and Bo Peep's story in the Toy Story movie was her idea to some extent, because I remember she gave out interviews and says, "Yeah, I'm working on Toy Story 4. I have an idea, and it's going to be a Woody and Bo Peep romantic comedy."
Seems interesting, but I mean, like the Toy Story movies have never kind of delved into a specific genre before. I mean, you could like classify them as kind of like adventure movies in a way, but I could never, Toy Story 3 is like an escape movie, or one of the, you know what I mean, kind of like a Prison Break movie. But I'd
Yeah,
never like say, oh, this is a whatever movie, like a rom com. But I mean,
yeah,
there's shades of it. There's a lot of personal moments between Woody and Bo Peep. So I guess you could kind of do that, but it doesn't go full blown. Hey, this is they meet in a funny situation, and then hilarity ensues, and then the inevitable breakup for the third act, and then they get back together right before her best friend's wedding or whatever.
yeah. Because which I feel, Rashida Jones. I don't know how she got the writing job, but I feel like she came up with a script about Woody and Bo, which must have been completely different from what we got. And then somebody else, either John Lasseter or somebody else, said, "Hey, that's a good idea. Make a movie about Woody and Bo, but let's do this adventure film with drama instead of making it what you originally had in mind." Which there were a lot of writers listed in the credits. When you see the credits for writers, it's too many names.
Yeah, so I'm guessing bits and pieces here and there, like just it just became a melting pot of all these different people's ideas. Just, hey, what if it's a Woody story? Hey, what about Bo Peep? Hey, this, hey, that. Hey, Carnival. Or I guess I don't know, whatever. So it's a mishmash. But I'm guessing you know, the the Woody Bo Peep has been more attributed to her,
Yeah,
to Rashida.
she must have been the jumping off point where they said, okay, we got Woody and Bo Peep. That's a good idea. Now, what do we do with them? And somebody else came up with that. And it's going to be really interesting if they make a behind the scenes or a documentary about this, talking about how many different drafts of this Toy Story script there were before we got what was presented to us on screen.
Yeah. I mean, normally when you hear like oh, too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever, it's like kind of spells for a bad movie. But considering this is probably one of the best Pixar movies, if not one of the best Toy Story movies, which already are some of the best Pixar movies, kind of comes as a surprise to me.
Yeah. And that's it. We covered all our notes. We went through everything. We want to thank everybody for listening to us on the go, whether it's through, what is it, Spotify, Anchor app. There's like a bunch of stuff out there except iTunes. I'm sorry. Anchor doesn't list on iTunes yet. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. Uh, send us a comment. Let us know what you're up to. Give us a shout out on social media. Our social media tags are on one of the corners of the screen. And bye, everybody.